Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Marie. It's lovely to see you and welcome to my pencil skirt tutorial. I love a pencil skirt. They are so classic. They're a staple for any wardrobe. And a pencil skirt, if designed to fit properly, makes basically any body shape look fantastic. This is also an extremely versatile piece. It dresses up or down with equal ease and is incredibly fun to wear. And I'm so happy to share with all of you how to make this one. It has a lovely texture, and that texture was inspired by some vintage crochet skirt patterns that I saw online. But don't let it fool you either. This skirt pattern is incredibly forgiving and easy to make. I'd say that it would be suitable for the advanced beginner. You should know how to chain and how to single crochet and half double crochet, but I'll teach you everything else you need to know. It could be helpful to know how to work it around already, but if you don't, that's okay too. I'll be slow walking you through where to join at the end of every row. And this skirt is kind of hiding a dirty little secret because we get that texture of it from repeating the same 6 rows over and over again, and they're very simple 6 rows. But for that little effort, we do end up with this really distinctive, beautiful texture to our skirt. And with just a few tweaks here or there to that 6-row repeat I mentioned, we get the perfect classic pencil skirt silhouette of widening for our hips and narrowing by our knees. This is bound to become a staple in your wardrobe, and this pencil skirt tutorial is actually the first in my Crochet Capsule wardrobe series. Now, I just started this and I just started this channel, but I've been making my own crochet clothes now for years, and I thought it'd be something fun to share with you all. I've put together a collection of 15 different tutorials that I'm going to be sharing with you slowly over the next few months. Each one of these tutorials will be part of a larger crochet capsule wardrobe that we're going to build together, filled with classic, timeless fashion staples, as well as some unique and beautiful statement pieces. This is a wonderful way to embrace slow fashion, to build a truly unique and beautiful wardrobe tailored to you and your body size, and a really fun chance for us to go on a crochet fashion adventure together. So if this sounds like your thing and you'd like to, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. And I'm so happy for us to start our first piece together, this pencil skirt. I love a good pencil skirt. Let's get started. So let's go over what you'll need to make this skirt. Well, the obvious is yarn. I used about 1/2 pound of category 4 acrylic, but I do think this would also look great in a category 4 cotton yarn. I think it would really highlight that texture that we're making there in the fabric. And also you'll need a crochet hook. I used one a little bit big for this size yarn, 5.5, but you use any yarn and hook size that matches and works for you. And we're going to start by grabbing our yarn and our hook and making a slip knot and getting that on our hook. And then we're going to begin by chaining a chain that's the length of the height you want the waistband of your skirt to be. So once you have it the desired length, it doesn't have to be an odd or even number or anything. You're going to chain 1 to turn, and then we're going to start working back down our chain with back loop only single crochets. The back loop being always the furthest loop from our body as we look at it here. So there's the back loop in this one. See, I'm going just into the back and I'm working now a single crochet. Good. And now I'm going to keep going all the way down, just working into the back loops there, as you'll see, with single crochets until I get to the end of my chain. And see, once you do a couple, they really stand out to you there, even if you're a beginner, which is good because we're going to be doing a lot of back loop work in this pattern. So just keep going along, putting in your back loop only single crochets, and I'll meet you at the end of the chain. And so now you can see I'm nearing the end of the chain here myself, putting in those back loop single crochets. And so now we are done row 1 of our waistband, and we're going to make a new turning chain now and turn and start working back down the row we just made. And beginning row 2, well, now you should have a turning chain at the start there, just like me already. And we're going to keep going just as we have been. So I'm going to go in that first proper stitch there with a back loop single crochet. And then I am just going to keep going down the row just like that, putting back loop single crochets into each one of my stitches. So we're going to keep going like this for the entirety of the waistband. I'm just going to keep doing these back loop single crochet rows until this waistband can stretch to all the way around the widest part of my hips. Now, I know if you're like me, you will expect this skirt to sit around your natural waist. But when we pull the skirt on and off, we're going to need that waistband to be able to stretch to accommodate the full width of our hips, too. And this fabric, as we go, you see mine as I'm working on it here, it has so much stretch to it. It's got crazy stretch to it. So just keep going until you have a waistband that can stretch to go around your hips. Just doing these back loop single crochet rows. And once you're done, meet up back with me here and we'll keep going. Okay, so now if you're following along with me, you should have a long strip of back loop single crochet rows just like this. And like I said, you should be able to stretch this around the widest part of your hips, over your butt. And now that it's ready, ignore my little tails here and don't cut your yarn yet. Just stretch it out on something flat like me. And then, after you have it all nice and laid out smooth, take one end and fold it over to meet the other end. So now you've just folded your waistband in half, which is great because now we're going to join the ends of this waistband together. So like I said, don't cut your yarn, just get your hook back in your loop there and sandwich them together. And we're going to keep going. And you can see there too, if you look closely, I already made a little turning chain there. So we're going to keep going with the back loop single crochet now, but we're going to use them to join the two edges of our waistband together. So let's start with the side closest to us here. I'm going to go into my first real stitch on the side closest to me, but in the back loop only, just like we have been. Then I'm going to grab the side of the waistband farther from me there. And let's make sure to here we go into the right spot. So let's look closely here. We don't want that tall one there at the end. Not that. This one right here. Okay, so that flat one there is what we're going to go into. So now both ends of the waistband are on our hook essentially. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both stitches, but not all the loops on my hook. I'm going to finish this like it's a single crochet. Perfect. Now, that's what we're going to keep doing to join the rest of the stitches of our waistband here. I'm going to find my next available stitch on my side, go in the back loop, find my next available stitch on the other side, go in the back loop, yarn over, pull through both stitches, and then finish it like a single crochet. So just keep going down and attaching them all this way until you get to the end, just like me here. And some of these ones at the end can be a little tight. And there we go. And so once again, as you finish here, don't cut your yarn. Because let's just stop and look at what we made here. A lovely ribbed waistband. So now we're going to keep going. And we're going to do that by chaining one. And by working into the ribs and valleys of our waistband, we're going to start building the body of our skirt. So if you look closely at the little valleys in between the ribs of our waistband, you can see on each side of those valleys, there's a little hole. There's one right there where I'm going to start. I'm going to put a single crochet in there. And I'm going to stretch a little bit and see there's the other one of those holes in that valley. I'm going to go in there too with another single crochet. And so that's what I'm going to keep doing now all the way around. In each one of these little valleys, you'll find on each side a hole. Put a single crochet in each one of these holes all the way around the waistband. At the end, you should have the same amount of single crochets around as you do rows in your waistband. When you get to the end, when you're facing where we joined our waistband ends together, come back here and I'll show you where to join to end the row. Okay, so now we're at the end of our row. We want to make sure that we don't work into that large rib right in front of us from where we attach the ends of our waistband together. a little while ago. We want to make sure we finish this single crochet row around the edge of our waistband in the right place. So we need to find our first real single crochet in this row. It's there. See it there? Right there. That's where we'll join now with a slip stitch. And that's how we're going to finish our single crochet row here. And we are now done the first row of the body of our skirt. And that's fantastic. Okay, I'm so excited when we're ready to keep going. And like I said, this skirt is made in 6-row hunks like. So we're going to be doing basically the same 6 rows throughout the entirety of the skirt, with a little adjustment here or there for increases, which is what we're going to focus on starting to do right now. And that row you just finished with me, that last single crochet row we did all the way around the edge of our waistband. Well, that can be thought of as row 1 in our 6-row repeat. So from now on, you'll know that every chunk of 6 rows, you'll start with a row of single crochet. Don't worry about memorizing that or anything. Just keep it in the back of your mind. I'll keep track of that for you. And I have something to give you a little later on that I think will help too. But for now, just remember, you've already got row 1 down of the 6-row repeat, and it's just single crochet. Now we're off to row 2, which we'll start by chaining 1. And then this is a row entirely of slip stitches. It's also the row where we do our first actual increases to increase for our hip width in our skirt. Well, we made our waistband long enough to stretch to accommodate our hips. We need the body of our skirt to swell to accommodate our booty naturally. So this first section of the body of our skirt is going to be all about adding width for our hips. And so I'm going in with a slip stitch right into the same stitch I just joined into to start the round, and put a slip stitch in my next stitch, another one in my third, and then another in my 4th stitch along, and my 5th stitch along. And then now, when I get to the 6th stitch from where I started, I'm going to do something kind of special. And in my next stitch, I'm going to put 2 slip stitches into the same stitch. So you'll see me go in now and put in one right in there, and then another in the same stitch. And this is our first proper increase stitch. And for the rest of this row, you're just going to keep going across like you just did. You're going to slip stitch 5 across, and in every 6th stitch, put 2 slip stitches. Just keep going like that all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end so we can join together, back where we started. Okay, so now I'm ready to end this row. At the start there, we did a chain 1 and a slip stitch into our first stitch. It made a little bump. We want to join into our first real slip stitch, not that chain 1. And that's where we're going to join into our first of the slip stitches there. And that's something to keep in mind with now too, that you know that row 2 is always going to be a slip stitch row. And now let's move on to row 3. And we'll start by chaining 1. And this is another simple row. And we're going to start by going into the same stitch we just came out of, same stitch that we joined into. And we're going to go in to the back loop again and do another row of single crochet, back loop only. So doing the slip stitches has kind of pushed our stitches to the front here, which is helpful. It makes it easy to go into just the back loop with a single crochet. Let's do another together there. Wiggling in if you made it tight like me, with another single crochet. And we're just going to keep doing that all the way around with no increases or anything, no counting necessary this time. And I'll meet you at the end so we can join up together. Okay, and now we're at the end of the row, and let's just make sure that we join and finish off in the right spot. So we want to join into our first real stitch there, our first single crochet of the row, not our turning chain, and slip stitch, and our row is done. And so that is row 3 in your 6 row repeat that makes up the body of your skirt, which means we are now ready to move on. And we're going to start by chaining 1 and working now into the same stitch that we just joined into and are coming out of. I'm going to start like I'm doing a half double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, and again, looking from the top, I'm going to find the back loop of that first stitch there, right there. And I'm going to go into that back loop and pull up a loop. So now I should have 3 loops on my hook. Now, normally in a half double, this is when I would yarn over again and pull through all 3 of those loops, but instead, I'm going to yarn over and go back into that same stitch and pull up another loop. So now I have 5 loops on my hook altogether. And yarn over again, but still we're not going to finish. We're going to go back into that same stitch a third time and pull up yet another loop. So now altogether you should have 7 loops on your hook, just like that. And when you're ready, we are now finally prepared to finish. So we're going to yarn over one last time and pull through all 7 of those loops and just go gentle. It helps to keep the loops a little bit loose. And that's perfect. There's your first puff. There's the first puff stitch. But this is an increase row for us, this row 4. So we're going to work another puff into that same stitch. So yarn over like you're seeing me do there, and then go back into that same stitch and pull up a loop. We'll do another one here together. There's 3 loops on my hook. There should be 3 loops on yours. Yarn over, go back in, pull up another loop. Now we have 5 loops on our hook again. Yarn over and go back in for a third and final time and pull up another loop. And now there are 7 loops on your hook. Then yarn over and pull through all 7 loops. So there is our second puff stitch and a puff stitch increase because we worked 2 into that one spot. We're ready to keep going. Now, in a lot of puff stitch patterns at this point, they would tell you to chain 1, but don't do anything like that here. Instead, just find your next available stitch like you see me doing. Find the back loop only and go in with a slip stitch, just like that. And now we're going to kind of do the same thing all over again, but with just 1 puff this time in that next available stitch. So yarn over and go in and find the back loop only because we're just going to keep working the back loop all the way along. And in that back loop, go in now with a puff. That's great. And now, like I said, we just want 1 puff in that stitch. So find your next available stitch. And we're going to go into that next available stitch there with just a back loop slip stitch again. Just like that. And so let's do another couple here together so we can establish the pattern we're making for this row. We're going to put another puff in that next available back loop. So go in there after yarning over like you just saw me do and put your next puff in. Then we're going to find our next available stitch and go in with a slip stitch in the back loop again. Now we have made 2 single puffs since our double puff at the start there with slip stitches in between all the way. And so let's go in with a third individual puff in that next available stitch. Excellent. Now find your next available stitch's back loop and go in again with a slip stitch. And now this is important, and this is why I've stayed with you so long on this one row. We've now made, if you look, a double puff, a slip stitch, a single puff, a slip stitch, a single puff, a slip stitch, a single puff, a slip stitch. And that is going to be our repeat for this entire row. So since we've done 3 single puffs with 3 slip stitches in between them, it's now time to do another double puff. Great. And so now, again, If you stop and look, you can see the pattern is really clear. We've done a double puff stitch followed by a slip stitch and then single puff slip stitch, single puff slip stitch, single puff slip stitch. And now we just finished a second ago our second double puff stitch, so we can start the cycle all over again. Because this is the increase repeat pattern you're going to follow for the rest of the row. Doing double puff slip stitch, single puff slip stitch, single puff slip stitch, single puff slip stitch. Just keep following that repeat pattern all the way around your row until you get to the end, and then we'll meet up together to finish off. Okay, so I'm almost done my row and I'm almost ready to join back where I started. And here I'm going to take my hook out just to stop and look at what we've done. And you can see here that all the way around I've done that repeat pattern for our increase. And if you get to the end of the row and you can't quite finish your set of double puff, slip stitch, single puff, slip stitch times 3, and you can see I did neither here, then that's okay. Just don't add anything. Don't try to cram another double puff stitch in there. Just wherever you finish up, that's great. So my last stitch here was, if you look closely, it was a slip stitch. I don't have quite enough to finish my double puff, slip stitch, 3 puff combo. You guys know what I mean. I'm not going to worry about finishing that last set of double puff slip stitch, single puff slip stitch, single puff slip stitch, single puff slip stitch. I'm just going to keep going where I'm at. So my last stitch was a slip stitch, so I finished that slip stitch, and now I'm just looking where to join to finish the row. We want to make sure we're joining in the right place. So we don't want that flat one at the bottom, obviously. That is our slip stitch join from the previous row. We want to go into the top of our first proper stitch, our first real puff stitch right there of the 2. The puff stitches are really easy to spot, especially once you get used to them. And I'm going to go into the first of my puffs now with a slip stitch to join and to finish my row. This is looking perfect. You can see our double puff increases all the way around there. And before that, our back loop single crochet and slip stitches made that lovely stripe detail. And we're ready to move on now to row 5. And we're going to start by chaining 1 and picking up right where we left off. Let's look at what's ahead of us here. We have those 2 puffs that we started our last row with, then the slip stitch, then puff, slip stitch, etc. And this row that we're going to do now is going to be super easy because we're just going to be doing back loop slip stitches and single crochet. And in the top of every single one of these puffs, you're going to go in with a back loop slip stitch. And in the gaps there between the puffs, we are going to put a single crochet. And it will become clear once we get going. And we'll do a little stretch here together so that you can see how to work around the double puffs too. So we chained 1 so we could start our row, and now find that first puff, find the top of it, and go in with a back loop slip stitch. Perfect. And now, because our next available stitch is a puff stitch as well, we're going to work another back loop slip stitch right into the top of that one too, because we're putting back loop slip stitches into every single one of these puffs. But then we hit our first slip stitch from the previous row. And again, we don't want to work into it directly. We want to work into that gap there, the gap made by the previous row's slip stitch. So you're going to see me put my hook now into that gap itself and work a single crochet. Next, we're going to avoid the top of that previous row slip stitch because we already worked in the gap. We're going to find the top of our next puff right there, and I'm going to work a slip stitch into it, taking care to work that slip stitch just in the back loop. Excellent. I'm going to find my next gap between the puffs, and there it is. And I'm going to work a single crochet into that. And this is what you're just going to keep doing for the whole row, just going along with your back loop slip stitches and your single crochets. And doing the same thing too when you hit the double puffs. When you get there, just put your single crochet in the gap before it. Do your back loop slip stitches on the top of the 2 puffs, like we did at the start. Put your single crochet in the gap after the 2 puffs, and then just keep moving along. Go like this all the way around your row with your back loop slip stitches and your single crochet. It should come together for you very quickly here, and I'll meet you at the end so we can join and finish this row together. Your second to last one in the 6-row repeat. Okay, so now I'm just about at the end of my row, as you can see, and let's just join here together. I'm going to join in our first proper stitch again right there, and go in with a slip stitch to finish off. And so that brings us to the end of row 5. Excellently done, friend. You might notice too at this stage that the puff stitches make the edge of your skirt a little like floppy or loose feeling. Don't worry about it, especially once we get out of this hip increase portion of the body of the skirt. It will all even out and get nice and flat for you. Anyway, we are ready to keep going and learn the last row in our 6-row repeat. And you'll notice now that we're nearing the end of those 6 rows, how fast they come together. And the body of your skirt will grow really, really quickly. And this last row, row 6, is absolutely no different. So starting this row, we'll begin by chaining 1. And then we're going to work into that first stitch that we just came out of in the back loop only, a single crochet. Good, and now we're going to do the same thing because this is an increase row. So I'm going to work a second single crochet into that same stitch. Excellent, and so now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to skip 2 stitches, and in the third stitch from where we're at, I want you to work another back loop single crochet. Good, now chain 2, skip 2 again, and once again in your third stitch from where you're at, put another back loop single crochet. Then I'm going to chain 2 again, and if I stop and look at where I'm at, you can see those 2 single crochet and a single stitch at the start. Then we did a chain 2 and we skipped 2. Then we did a single crochet, chain 2, skip 2, single crochet, chain 2, skip 2. And because this is our third chain 2, we're going to finish off after your third chain 2, skip 2 by putting 2 single crochet again in the next stitch, just like we did at the start. And this is the repeat pattern you're going to follow for the rest of this row. You'll do 2 single crochet, chain 2, skip 2, single crochet, chain 2, skip 2, single crochet, chain 2, skip 2. Do this all the way around, and when you get to the end, come back here and we'll finish off together. So now I'm nearing the end of my row. I've chained 2 after my last single crochet like normal. There's 2 stitches left. I'm just going to ignore them. I'm going to find my first real single crochet stitch and slip stitch join to it to finish the row. There. And chain 1. I'm going to take my hook out and take a look at this here. And congratulations, because you have just finished the last row in your 6-row repeat. You now know all the rows. And you can see it makes this beautiful little band. And it's a band that you can already start to see is expanding to accommodate the width of my hips, which is of course what we need at this stage. And so this is the game plan for now. This is what you're going to keep doing. You're just going to keep doing these 6 rows over and over again until your skirt reaches a width of your hips. But keep in mind that with those big puff stitches there on row 4, and with how fast it comes together, you will probably only need 1 or 2 of these 6-row bands if you are like a size small or medium normally. I've made a rough sizing guideline that I'll put on the screen here, but it is approximate, so be sure to try it on as you go. And remember what I said about those puffs, making it a little like loose and floppy seeming at the end. It's easy for this skirt as you increase it in width for your hips to sort of hide how big it's getting. So just try it on and smooth down the edge and make sure that it can go over your butt, but with a little stretch so that you can keep an eye on those puffs and also just to account for the stretch in the fabric itself, because it does have a little bit of give to it. When in doubt, use these guidelines I've given you here as just sort of a baseline to start with. But still try it on yourself. Like I said, everybody's body's different. But before I send you off to go working on building the width of your skirt, there is one small change to our 6-row repeat that we need to address. And that's with your next row, row 1. The last time that you did row 1, it was working single crochets into your waistband. And this is still just a row of single crochet. Row 1 will always just be single crochet. But from now on, instead of working it into your waistband, you're going to be working it into your most recent row 6, which will look a little bit different. But it's still going to be very simple, and I'll show you what to do. Just begin your row by chaining 1 like normal. And then in each single crochet, you're going to go in with a back loop single crochet to match. You see me doing here in the first 2 of my row 6. I'm just putting back loop single crochet into my first 2 single crochet from row 6. And then when you get to your first chain 2, well, there's 2 chains there. So work 2 single crochet around them, taking care to work around the chains and not into the stitches themselves. Then I hit another single crochet, so I'm going to work a back loop single crochet into that, and just keep going. Work your row 1 this way every time you hit it, just putting single crochets along either in old single crochets or around those chain 2s, just like this. That's the only difference in your row 1 from now on. So just keep doing these 6 rows, these 6-row bands, until you have the right hip width for you. Then come back here and I'll show you how to get started on the straightaway portion, which is even easier. Welcome back. And if you're here, it's because you finished your skirt to the point where you've done enough of those 6-row increase bands for your skirt to swell to accommodate the widest part of your hips. And I almost let mine get too big before I realized how much stretch this fabric does have to it. And that's how I figured out that a set of 2 6-row bands was what worked for me. And before you start your straightaway on the skirt body, again, test and stretch and try it on. And then once you're sure you have the right fit for your hips, finish wherever you are in your 6-row repeat. So if you try it on after a row 2, doesn't matter. Finish all the way to row 6. Once you're done your last row 6 of your hip increase bands, and I'm going to assume that's where you're at, and honestly, I have good news for you guys because it only gets easier from here, like I said. Because until now, we had to keep counting and doing increases to increase our width for our booty. But now that we're at where we need to be, we just got to build length now. So everything just got a whole lot simpler. So you're looking on screen now at the 6-row repeat you've been doing. You're going to keep doing that, but just an easier version. This is the 6 rows you're going to be doing from now on. And let's go through them briefly together. So you can see row 1 is exactly the same. You're just going to single crochet around, like we just talked about, putting a single crochet on the top of each single crochet from your row 6, and also putting 2 single crochets around each chain 2 from the previous row. Your row 1 will stay exactly the same. Row 2 used to be an increase row for you, where you would back loop slip stitch for 5, and then put 2 back loop slip stitches in your 6th stitch. Now we don't need to increase anymore. So your new row 2 is just a back loop slip stitch all the way around. No counting, no increases. Row 3 before for you, until now, has been a back loop single crochet row, just doing back loop single crochets across. And this isn't changing either. Your row 3 is still just going to be a chain 1 and back loop single crochet all the way around. Row 4 is a puff stitch row, and it used to be an increase row for you, doing double puffs and a slip stitch after 3 single puffs and 3 slip stitches. But you don't need to worry about that anymore. And from now on, you're just going to be doing single puffs and back loop slip stitches all the way around. Row 5 used to be putting a slip stitch in every puff and a single crochet in the gaps between the puffs, and that's another one that's staying the same. Just keep your row 5 the same and do it like you have been doing it. And then finally, your row 6. Well, until now, you kind of had to think about it a little bit, and you were doing a combination of single crochets and chain twos and skipping two and having to pay attention to how often you would chain two and skip two. Well, now you don't have to worry about any of that. You're just going to be single crocheting, chain two, skip two, single crocheting, chain two, skip two, all the way around. So take a screenshot of this and then just keep building your skirt with this new 6-row repeat until it's about, I'd say, a palm's length from your knee if you want it the same length as mine. Just keep repeating these same 6 rows until you get to that point. And again, once you do, make sure you finish your 6-row repeat. So, for example, if you try it on after a row 4, and it's about a palm's length from your knee, it doesn't matter. Finish all the way until your nearest row 6. After it's at the right length and you've just finished your last row 6, come back here because we're getting near the end now, and you'll see too now with these simplified 6 rows that making this skirt will just fly by. And I'm so excited to see how it turns out for you. So, okay, you get crocheting, I'll get crocheting, and we'll meet up here in a bit. Hello again, and thank you for joining me. And we're ready now to finish up the last real main chunk of our skirt here. And if you've been following along, like I said, your skirt should be, if you want the same length as mine, about a palm's length from your knee. And you'll notice too, if you look at it, how straight it's gotten. It's lost all the floppiness at the edge that the puffs gave it earlier on after our hip increase section. It's just a nice straight skirt at this point, but that's not what we want. We want a pencil skirt, and pencil skirts traditionally narrow a little bit around our knees. So for us to get the proper shape, the proper silhouette that we want with this skirt, we're going to have to make the body of it a little narrower again. But we don't want to narrow it to the point where it's hard to walk around in or makes us feel uncomfortable. And don't worry, this is all very easily done. You're still going to keep doing the same 6 rows you have been, just with a few little tweaks in them, and let's go over those together. So these are the 6 rows you have been doing to build the body of your skirt, the 6 rows you just finished. And these are your new 6 rows. And if you look closely, you'll see that these new 6 rows are actually exactly the same as the 6 rows you were just doing, except for row 2. And that's because row 2 is our decrease row. So literally, you are going to keep doing these same 6 rows, except that row 2 will be a little different to give us that narrowing effect. So I won't bother going over rows 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 with you because they're exactly the same. But let's cover a little bit of difference here in our row 2 together. Okay, so I'm starting my row 2 here. And once I get my yarn, I'm going to chain 1 to start like normal. And I'm going to start the row with my first decrease. So we're going to decrease right at the start here, and you're going to go into the first stitch, into the back loop only, like you're doing a normal back loop slip stitch. So you'll see me go in here now. And I'm now going to grab a loop and pull it up, but I'm not going to finish. I'm going to hold it on my hook. Good. Now I'm going to go into the back loop of my next available stitch, and I'm going to pull up a loop from there too. Perfect. And now I'm going to pull that through the 2 remaining loops on my hook for my first slip stitch decrease. And that's how we do those. And now I'm going to slip stitch across for 5, taking care to still only work in the back loops. And now in my 6th and 7th stitches, I'm going to work another decrease. So into that 6 back loop, I'm going to pull up a loop, keep it on my hook, go into the back loop of the 7th stitch, pull up a loop, and pull that same loop through the 2 that are on my hook. And so this is what you're going to do for the rest of the row. You're going to slip stitch across in the back loop only for 5, And then on stitches 6 and 7, you're going to work your slip stitch back loop decrease. Do this all the way around, and then when you get to the end, join to your first slip stitch like normal. And that's your row 2, your new row 2. Though, like I said, that's the only row that's changing. Every single other row in your 6-row repeat is the same. And as for how many of these narrowing 6-row repeat bands you should do, well, I ended up doing the same amount of narrowing bands as I did hip increase bands at the start. So if you'll remember, I said when we were widening our skirt to accommodate our booty near the beginning, then I did 2 of those hip increase 6-row repeat bands. Now, as we near the end and I'm narrowing, I'm going to do 2 again of these narrowing 6-row repeat bands. And that's my gentle suggestion for you as well. However many of the hip increase bands you did, do the same amount for your narrowing bands here. Once you have the right amount of narrowing 6-row repeat bands that works for you, come back here because we have a few finishing touches to make, but then we're done. Hello and welcome back. And you should have just finished your last 6 row in your narrowing bands there. And your skirt should be looking like mine. And it is, it's almost done now. We just have a few finishing touches to make here. And after that last row 6 that you did, the single crochet, chain 2, skip 2, I find it looks a little unfinished if we leave it like that. So I would follow up your last row 6 in your narrowing band there with another row 1. Your chain 1 single crochet around, putting the single crochets in the top of your row 6 single crochets and putting 2 single crochet around your chain 2s, just like we have been doing for every row 1. You can see I've put mine at the edge at the bottom of our skirt there. Then I like to follow up with a row of back loop single crochet around. And this will be our last row. So this is actually a row 3 for us normally, but just chain 1 and put back loop single crochets all the way around. And once you finish that, well, we only have 2 more little steps left, and both of them involve your waistband. So if you look at mine here, you can see at the top of my waistband, I went in and did a row of single crochet all the way around, just like we did in the bottom of our waistband to build the body of our skirt, right there at the very start. And I would do the same on yours. Just go now and reattach your yarn near where we joined our waistband together and put a row of single crochet all the way around, though I'd keep it a little loose. Like I admit, when I was doing these waistband single crochet stitches here at the end, I kept mine almost comically loose. Like my single crochet for this row are so big, just because we do want that final row of single crochet around the end because it will hold the overall shape of our waistband over time and keep it from sort of getting too loose. But if we make these final single crochet around the top of our waistband too tight, then we'll struggle to get the skirt on and off. So this step is totally optional, but I would recommend it. Go around the top of your waistband now, just like you see me doing, and add this row of single crochet. And maybe just try it on as you go to make sure that you are leaving these stitches loose enough. And once you're done that, the only thing left to do is to add a drawstring, which is our last step to ensure that you keep getting the perfect fit on this skirt, no matter how many times you wear it. Now, I openly admit I like to hide the drawstring inside. I just don't like the look of it on the outside, to be honest with you. But that's another thing that's entirely up to you. To make your drawstring, just make a really long chain. I made one that can wrap around my waist twice, just to make sure I had lots of room. And then if you want yours like mine, turn your skirt inside out, which, I mean, can we stop and acknowledge how cute it looks inside out? But then we're just going to weave the drawstring through the same holes that we worked our single crochet into. Like, see how there's one big one in each valley? Like, I'm just going to weave my drawstring through those holes. And your drawstring should fit through very smoothly. And just go along and do that, weaving your drawstring through the big holes in the top of your waistband all the way around, taking care at the end to make sure both ends of your drawstring are facing outwards toward you so that when you flip your skirt right way out again, it'll be hidden just like we want it. And And now, my friend, I'm happy to tell you that you are done. And that's fantastic. And thank you for being here and making this skirt along with me. I hope that you enjoyed it. Oh, and I'm so happy with mine. I like to turn the seam in it, which we made a nice straight seam, very similar to, a traditional needle and thread pencil skirt seam. But I like to turn it to the side to give us a nice clear view of our booty in the skirt. And tilting it to the side like this makes it a little bit less noticeable overall. And when I block it, like I haven't blocked it yet in this footage here, I still haven't, but when I do, I'll be blocking it with the seam to the side as well. By putting our increases all around evenly spaced, this allowed us to make a skirt where any side of it can be the front and any side can be the back, so we can put the seam anywhere we want, making this skirt even more versatile. And oh my gosh, I talked about a little earlier how cute I thought the inside of this skirt looked. Like, I genuinely feel this skirt to be reversible because look at this. This is so cute. I love it. And I was so busy rocking other looks, I didn't get a chance to try it on inside out yet, but I do want to so bad. And I'm so happy to have kicked off the Crochet Capsule wardrobe series with this amazing, beautiful skirt. And thank you so much for being here with me to make it. And I would love to see your finished skirt. You can find me lingering around on TikTok and on Instagram, so be sure to hook me up with some cute pictures of how your skirt turned out. And I'd love to see you with us for the next episode in the series, where we're going to be making a matching off-the-shoulder shirt to go with the skirt we just finished. And I'm so happy and excited to share it with you all. And hopefully I'll see you again here soon. But either way, thank you again so much for being here today. Be safe, be happy, go with all my love. Until next time, goodbye for now.